What is good, all of our listeners and viewers? Welcome to another episode of Games and Groceries. My name is Adam.
And I'm Liz.
And I've got some lower back pain that I can't explain. We're here with episode 107, where we're going to be talking about is romancing important in games. But first, we've got some segments for you. Yes, we do. Well, also, Travis from Rainbow Road Podcast is going to be on. Yeah. Travis. Yeah, he's going to be on later. By the way, we've got timestamps for you. Just letting you know, this is the American podcast. That's right. Do with it what you want. If you want to just skip ahead to our guest, fine. Be that way. I don't care. But if you want to just go to the gaming news, fine. Be that way. My mic is super loud. Is it not?
I don't know. I'm just talking and seeing what the wave look like. Yes, yours is quite loud compared to mine.
Wow.
You're also quite loud in my ear.
Wow. Okay,
I
then.
think you're just loud in general, too.
I think so. So this is the first time that we're actually using Audition for this podcast.
And I'm terrified.
Yeah. So, we've been using Audacity for a good while, and I've been satisfied with it. But, we want to do Audition because
we want that top quality.
Yeah. So we used Audition for What's the Biz just to test it out, and now we're doing it with this. Also for the voiceover for our latest video. If you haven't, check it out. It's called something. I can't even remember my own titles. How to Start Big Gaming Beef with Mr. Matty Plays. And I'm already writing the script for the next sketch. It's going to be about finding health potions in games. So it's going to be fun. But Liz, how you doing?
I am okay.
Okay.
I don't know why. Actually, recently I've been actually falling asleep pretty quick, which is unusual for me.
Yeah.
And yet I woke up today, and even on my way to work, I was like, oh my gosh, I am so insanely tired.
Yeah.
I don't know why I was so tired today, but I'm really glad I bought that iced tea yesterday. I got myself a Bai iced tea, and I drank it when I got home from work. I got out of work early today, so that was nice. Because it was dead there.
Yeah, it was.
I even caught up on all my busy work, which is bad, which means I have no busy work for next week to keep me busy, so that's fun. But yeah, so I was really tired today, but I had iced tea, and I started watching Married at First Sight again.
Ugh.
Love that show.
Ugh. But
so I'm kind of just acceptance that I just love reality TV. I'll watch almost any reality TV show.
So let's just get the show on the roll. What do you think?
Okay.
So before we get this show rocking and rolling. We can't just have one way, but rocking and rolling.
Yeah.
We're on social media. Yes, that's true. I know. It's crazy. It's insane. We're on social media. We're on Twitter at Gaming Groceries, but you can follow us individually. I'm at Ace the Grocer.
And I'm at Journey First.
Where you can also follow us on Instagram, Games at Groceries, all one word, where I will post as much as I can. I've got some stories on there, some fun little stories. You can pop up there like, oh, wow, I wonder what's on the story for Games at Groceries. You found out.
And I occasionally share pictures of Loki.
Occasionally, yes.
Very occasionally.
Occasionally.
I very occasionally tweet, but I'm trying to fix that.
And then you can also follow us on Facebook. Go on Facebook. Check us out. I also upload the videos on Facebook if you want to go on Facebook, if that's your prerogative. But I don't think I used that word right. But here we go. But check out our website, gamesandgroceries.com, where you can listen to all the podcasts from the website, as well as you can find out where you can listen to the audio versions of the website, podcast, and some articles I've written in the past. And then finally, I've got some... Hey, wait. Don't you go nowhere. Hey, stay. Okay, good. Thank you. If you're watching us on YouTube, have you subscribed yet? No, you haven't. Why not? Do it. I'm just kidding. But if you're watching us on YouTube, definitely give us a subscribe and a notification bell so that you know when all of these podcasts come out, as well as our weekly sketch videos, if you enjoy that. And if you enjoy these videos, definitely give it a like and a share so that more people know about the Games and Groceries brand. So did you stay? Did you click that subscribe? You have? Wow. Good job. Anyways, I don't know. So it sounded so
fun there.
I did a little bit. But yeah, let's save myself here.
Okay.
You know why?
Why?
I don't know. Let's go to our first segment.
Movie Minutes.
Movie Minutes is a segment that we talk about the movies that we watched in the past week, and we like to give you a recommendation or not a recommendation. Hey, where do you watch these movies? I don't know. Maybe we get it from Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime. Not really in theaters in this point in time. Soon. Actually, a little bit, maybe. I don't know. But we like to give you a recommendation or not a recommendation. And instead of rating it 1 out of 10, we've decided to do a 5-point system instead.
Yeah.
Instead of just giving you, it's a 7, it's an 8, we're going to give you 5 points. The worst, right? Worst, we're going to say avoid at all costs. The second is pass. You know, it's just kind of like a pass. It's not really avoid at all costs.
It's not horrible. It's just, no need. No, it's a waste of time.
Yeah, just pass it. Number 3 is enjoyable. Like, we watched it. It's enjoyable. It's fine. I like it.
Yeah.
Number 4 is solid film. I highly recommend it. Definitely go watch it. And then number 5 is perfect for us.
Yes.
Perfect for us.
Well, all of these are for us.
Yeah, really.
Like,
so
we choose to pass, or we, whatevs.
But yeah, so that's going to be our 5-point system from here on out. But so let's just talk about this week's Movie Minutes. So we actually found this on Amazon Prime Video, and it's a movie called Crawl.
Woo!
Produced by Sam Raimi.
Yeah.
And directed by Alexandre Aja. Cool. But yeah, it's produced by Sam Raimi. It is a 2019 film. And opening thoughts, go.
I was actually very excited for this movie. I remember when it came out in theaters, I really wanted to go see it. Because I think this came out the same time as Kristen Stewart movie that you wanted to see.
I don't know.
With her underwater.
Oh.
Is it Underwater?
It's called Underwater.
That's what I thought, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
So this came out the same time as that, and I remember
I don't think
having debates. No, they did, because I remember having debates with you because you really wanted to see that, but I really wanted to see this. Mm-mm. Yes.
No, this is 2019. Underwater came out in January 10th, 2020.
Around the same time. Yes, they were around. Never mind. I'm not later.
Okay.
But I really wanted to see this, so I was excited to watch it. It was good. I feel like it might have been better than it set itself up to be.
Yeah.
Like, when you first start it, you're like, oh, this is going to be an okay movie. But then it gets, like, more interesting, kind of. Mm-hmm. And I didn't expect it to all be set in, like, almost one place.
Right. It's a one-setting movie.
Yeah. So it was, I liked it. It was good.
So my opening note is that the movie sets it up in the most perfect way. It is a college student swimmer set in Florida during a hurricane.
Well, like, how else are they gonna be able to pull this movie off?
Well, no, that's the thing. That's what I mean. It's just like, it's perfect.
Yeah.
It's just like that's the key notes. Girl's a swimmer. It's set in Florida during a hurricane. Go. And it's like an improv movie.
It's like they said to a room of writers, like, this is what we want it to be.
Yeah. Swimmer, Florida, hurricane. What do you got for me?
You take care of the rest. What are we gonna do?
And basically, movie ensues, and that setup was absolutely perfect. Like, it just said, "Here's a direction: swimmer, hurricane's about to go. It's actually coming into Florida, and she's passing an alligator farm." Movie, like, that's the thing. It's like, it's so incredible the way this movie is set up. Incredible in the way of what it intends to be, not like a serious movie that's going to be it might be a cult classic, but a classic, an Oscar worthy. No, it just sets it up to be a
decent movie.
Here are some crocodiles. Oh, sorry, alligators. They're
different.
Yeah, they are different, but some alligators that come into the home in your crawl space. But
Adam didn't know it was a crawl space till after the movie had been in the.
I was like,
we were like 30 minutes into the movie.
It's a crawl space.
You're like, that's not a crawl space? I'm like, that's a crawl space.
But my point is that it sets it up perfectly. I loved it.
I definitely agree.
Yeah, but then I want to go into the actual horror intensity of this movie because it is.
It's a suspense. I wouldn't call it horror. It's suspense.
It's a suspense film. But this is, and I put it as interactive horror. I'm like, it's not horror, but suspense. It's an interactive suspense film where you're always shouting at the characters, stop it, don't do that.
I would have struggled watching this in theaters.
Yeah.
Because I do like to talk during movies. I'm polite and I don't do it in theaters. But when I'm at home, especially if you put me in a room with Lane watching a movie, I love talking during. I love discussing how stupid they are. I love talking about movies while I'm watching them. So I don't know if I would have been able to bite my tongue in the theaters. I would have been like constantly whispering over to Adam.
Yeah, no, like this is definitely what I like to call an interactive horror suspense film where you're always talking to the characters. You're always saying like you're stupid, you're dumb. Why would you do that? No, that person's gonna die. And like it's so great in that way. And it invokes so many emotions out, and that's how you can tell a good suspense film, that it makes you jump for the characters.
Yeah.
And I thought that was fantastic because a lot of suspense films that I watch, I'm just like, that's stupid. That's dumb. Yeah,
whereas this, it's like, you're being so stupid.
Exactly. Like, I actually very much, I very much enjoyed this.
I feel like this is like the first movie I've seen that I feel like they made, like, what if they made it like on purpose? Like, they purposefully want you to be talking to them.
Yeah, no. Like that's the thing, is that it's written so well that it forces you to talk to them.
They're like, no, we're going to make you yell at them.
Now, my last note is I'm saying this spoiler right now. The dog lives.
Yes.
Dog does live.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
It gets a little dicey there.
The dog's name is Sugar, by the way.
Yeah.
It's a dog named Sugar, and Sugar lives the entire movie. That's the one thing I didn't want to be worrying about. It's just like, is Sugar going to live?
He was constantly worried the entire movie, like, don't you dare.
Yeah,
don't you dare. I'm not sure how the dog lived, because there are definitely some times that if it was a human, the gator would have been there. But whatever.
Yeah, no.
I don't care.
Sugar lives. That's all I'll say. Will the other characters live? That's all I'm not going to say. But I want you to go in this movie understanding that dog lives.
Don't worry. Just enjoy everything else.
But yeah, that's the thing, is that this is definitely, the movie definitely did its job in saying that crocodile movie or alligator movie in a hurricane in Florida. And it did its job. It did its job, and it actually invoked emotions from me. Maybe not like suspenseful, like, ooh, but it actually just made me talk to the movie.
Yeah.
And I loved it.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. So talking about our ratings, again, we're at a 5 point of avoid at all costs, pass, enjoyable, solid, and perfect. What'd you give it?
I gave it a solid.
Yeah. Why?
That's really what it was. It was a solid movie. I wouldn't give it amazing. It wasn't perfect because, like I said, the characters were really stupid. And it was pretty predictable.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But it was still very good. It was interactive. It was interesting. I didn't ever, like, feel like I needed to see. Oh, man, how long has it been?
Yeah.
Like, is it almost over?
It's only an hour and 20.
I didn't feel like it ended too soon. Like, it was the perfect length. I just got something in my eye.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. But no, I just really enjoyed it.
No, yeah.
It was just a good, solid movie.
I also gave it solid. Just because, like I said at the end, it did exactly what it set out to do. It set out to be this. Like the setup of the movie, and it follows just that. And I was teetering between enjoyable and solid, but that's the thing, is that I enjoyed my time. I talked to the movie. I was in the movie. I cared for the characters. I was suspenseful for the dog. It was just, it set out what it needed to do, and I'm giving this a solid.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's all we need to say.
Yeah.
Solid is kind of like I highly recommend this movie. Perfect is like drop everything you're doing,
go watch it,
and go watch Parasite. But this is kind of like, I highly recommend it. Yeah. If you got time, I definitely recommend this movie. Yeah. But yeah, so that's Crawl. It's produced by Sam Raimi, and it came out in 2019. It's available on Prime Video, so definitely check it out for yourself.
Yeah.
But yeah. So let's talk about some video game news. You're here for that. You're here for video games. Wow. Video game podcast. Who would have thought of it? But let's just go right into it. You know what time it is.
Do you want me to say it?
No, it's time for our second segment.
Top 3 Gaming News.
The top 3 gaming news is the gaming news that we saw in the past week, and we like to rank it 3, 2, 1, just to give you a condensed version of what's going on in the gaming industry. Hey, whoa, gaming industry, what's going on here?
Tings.
Well, I'm going to tell you.
Oh, okay.
It's the top 3 gaming news time. Let's start with our number 3 gaming news, and it's about Pokemon again, everybody.
Woo!
Pokemon.
We like Pokemon.
Apparently, these people don't like Pokemon because, oh no, Pokemon Unite is the most disliked YouTube video of all time.
I gotta agree with them, though.
Well, hang on now. Hang on. Here's the thing. Let me go through this story. So Pokemon Unite.
Yes.
Just came out, or it was just announced this past week in a Pokemon Direct,
Yes.
right? And the Pokemon Direct was actually hyped up for a whole week. Now, the setup for this is that last episode, we talked about how Pokemon Snap was announced, along with some mobile games like Pokemon Cafe and Pokemon Teethy Brushies. And then it just said, oh, for Pokemon Direct, we've got a huge announcement. And everybody's just like, oh my goodness, this is it. We're going to get Johto remastered. Like, we're going to get like a big thing. Oh, maybe some more details about Pokemon Snap. In the most blind way possible, they show off a Pokemon MOBA. Now, here's my problem, is that the game in of itself, a Pokemon MOBA like League of Legends and Dota, I don't have a problem with.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Like, I really do. I see the gameplay. I'm like, that's
Looks
cool.
fun.
What I don't like about it is that it's not on PC. It is on Switch and mobile. Yuck. But I'm sure they've, did some controls, just like Halo Wars did with the Xbox controller. But it is what it is. But yeah, so it's a Pokemon MOBA. Now, what people didn't like was just that it hyped up this much, and it was a game that easily could have been just a tweet.
Yeah, definitely.
It just hyped people up, and it was tone deaf. People were not asking for a Pokemon MOBA.
Yeah. I feel like if they really wanted a big hitter like surprise, they should have switched Pokemon Snap and this.
Oh yeah, or even include Pokemon Snap in this.
Yeah.
Like, give us some other details about other games, but it's just like, we're only talking about this, and we're going to show you some
like,
gameplay
it's like the
with
best
announcements.
game ever. It's like, it's okay.
Yeah, like, it just said, no, hang on now. Hang on. I know you don't understand what's going on in this game, so let me show you. No, I'm like, no,
Yeah.
I understand what it is. It's Pokemon League of Legends. It's fine. I don't need to explain.
I'm just not excited about it.
It's just like, I'm not excited. Now, in response to this little broadcast, we have this. And now all the articles linked down below. Yesterday's Pokemon Presents broadcast has accrued over 170,000 dislikes in under 24 hours, as noted by Nintendo Life. A strong response from fans that, after a hotly anticipated reveal, turned out to be a MOBA-like where you play as a team of Pokemon, earning abilities, vying for control of a top-down battlefield. It is Dota with Pokemon. That's all it is. And that's the thing. 170,000 in 24 hours. It is the most disliked video in Pokemon's history. And I think it's just because nobody was asking for this.
Yeah.
And it was presented in a way where it was a bigger deal than it was.
Yeah.
And it's being made by Tencent, which people aren't a huge fan of Tencent. So, but that's the thing. It's like, fine game. It was just presented like it was a bigger deal than it was.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts?
Not really. I mean, this is pretty cut and dry. It's like,
Yeah.
they made a bigger deal of something that isn't really a big deal, and people showed them how they felt.
Well, that's why it's a number 3 gaming news.
Yeah.
It's still newsworthy,
Definitely newsworthy, but not much to say much about.
but not like Mixer. Oh no. Number 2 gaming news. Mixer shutting down, people. Oh no. What? This past Monday, so literally a week ago from today, Microsoft just comes out without alerting any streamers. It comes to a surprise from the Mixer streamers. Keep in mind, the streamers had
They
no
didn't
idea.
tell anybody anything.
They're like, hey, we're shutting down Mixer. We're giving it to Facebook Gaming. Have fun. And that's it. And what's the craziest part is that Ninja and I'm going to read this quote here from Phil Spencer, who is the head of Xbox Gaming, which, Mixer is a part of. But Ninja and Shroud get to keep those $30 million checks.
Well, they should.
Oh, yeah, they should. But they just won the lottery here.
Yeah.
They got $30 million.
They got $30 million to do nothing.
Yeah, like after a few months, they're like, yeah, you're free to go. Go back to Twitch, whatever you want to do. You want to go to Facebook Gaming? Go ahead. You want to just not stream ever again? Go ahead.
You have the money to do that.
It's just like, that's incredible. So I just want to read this quote right here. This is from The Verge. All the articles linked down below, as I said before. Microsoft has talked about reaching 2 billion gamers with its vision for xCloud. Now, this is important. Why did they get rid of Mixer for Facebook Gaming? But Mixer wasn't in a strong enough position to help achieve that goal. Phil Spencer says this: when we think about the xCloud and the opportunity to unlock gameplay for 2 billion players, we know it's going to be critically important that our services find large audiences, and Facebook clearly gives us that opportunity, says Spencer. Now, I say to Facebook because, one, it's pretty toxic. Facebook is.
It is.
But it is by far the largest, maybe, in a year's time, it's not, but it is the largest social media platform. It has the most users ever. And that's the thing. It's got a lot of users in it. And what Phil Spencer says, like, listen, I could be focusing on Mixer. I could be focusing on a streaming service, but I really want xCloud to succeed. Mm-hmm. And so why don't we give this to Facebook Gaming to focus on? They got a whole team behind it, and it's Facebook. And Facebook, by the way, Facebook loves live streams. They love that. Their algorithm loves them some live streams. So has your boy done live streams? No. But that's the thing, is that they love it. And now they have the full capacity behind Mixer services, but it's Facebook. But Phil Spencer's like, I want to focus on xCloud. I don't want to focus on Mixer.
Yeah.
Any thoughts?
My only thought is I was with him until he said the reason behind it, that like Facebook has the the people. Mm-hmm. But if you ask any teenagers, which is main demographic for streaming video games, they're not on Facebook.
That's the weird part about this whole thing.
Like,
is that
Facebook, if you ask any kid, like I remember in youth group, they'd be like, ugh, only parents are on Facebook and grandparents.
Yeah.
Like only old people are on Facebook, which is why I was surprised that like my younger cousin's like girlfriend was on Facebook. I was like, oh, really?
Well, what's funny is that people say that all the time, but Facebook is much more, like, it's much bigger than people think. Because what does Facebook own? Instagram.
This is true.
What does Facebook also own? Oculus Rift. Maybe that's wrong. I think it's Oculus, but they also own the WhatsApp. They own a lot.
That's true. They do own a lot. But when you think, like, I wasn't thinking that. When they said it's on Facebook, I'm thinking of, like, Facebook.
Yeah, that's the thing. It is called Facebook Gaming. But I think Phil Spencer knows that they have way more of an audience. The kids today, when they say, like, ugh, Facebook, I'm on Instagram more, like, oh, guess who owns Instagram? Facebook. Yeah. And Facebook has your properties. Have you logged onto the internet lately? They've got your property. But that's the thing, is that Phil Spencer's right in doing this, is that he's focusing on other things. He's focusing on making sure that xCloud succeeds.
Yeah.
And good for him. I don't really have a problem with this. I really don't. And I'm sure that Ninja and Shroud really don't have a problem with this. But if you were on Mixer and you were, streaming, that was your job, I'm sorry. But, Viner survived, so I'll leave it at that. Vine kind of, but then they all survived. So, welcome Logan Paul. But that brings us to our number one gaming news, which is actually a very important topic. Is that, and it's very important.
Mm-hmm.
It's that the gaming industry is facing a ton of. Yeah, I didn't know what picture to.
I was like, what'd you put up there?
It's just another picture from an article that I've read. But the gaming industry is facing some backlash against some sexual harassment allegations and misconduct across the industry.
Yeah.
And the gaming industry is responding to this and saying like, oh, wow, perhaps we should do something about that. And I'm like,
that's probably a good idea.
Yeah, probably a good idea, gaming industry. So here's the thing. I have a little bit of an interesting take. Not interesting, I shouldn't say that. But in the past couple of weeks, we've seen the gaming industry having overwhelming amounts of sexual harassment and misconduct allegations. And I'm going to say that again, allegations. Now, let me preface this. I come from a youth pastor background, right? And I am so careful so careful when dealing with the opposite gender, especially younger, middle school, in the way of people said like, oh, Adam, you seem to be ignoring the girls. Yep. Like,
sure am.
That's the thing is that like,
you'd rather be accused of not liking girls than something else.
I never had a Snapchat ever. They're like, why do you have that? Allegations. But that's the thing is that like, I'm not trying to say any of these women are wrong.
No.
What I am trying to say is that you do anything that seems uncomfortable at all, ever, and then you're right there. Sexual harassment. Again, it has everything to do with their rights as women.
Yeah.
But let me preface it that way. I have the perspective of I am so
You've
careful.
You've seen it happen on the other end where it wasn't entirely truthful.
I've seen it on both ends in youth ministry where it wasn't truthful, and many of my friends were falsely accused of sexual harassment and their lives were ruined. And I've also seen, I will say this, equal amounts of very much the truth.
Yeah.
And I've cut ties. So
that's probably a good idea too.
But that's the thing is that like I've seen it both ends. I have.
Yeah.
And let me go forward with this. That's the thing is that there are some cases that are proven. More like, Ashraf Ishmael.
Yeah.
Who was proven to be. Now, the other thing I'll talk about this. Let me just set it up first. Ashraf Ishmael was accused of cheating on his wife, being unfaithful to his wife. And he was alleged, and then all these women showed the DMs. It was the truth.
Yeah, it wasn't alleged anymore.
But here's my thing about this. Here's my thing, and we can talk about this a little bit more. I wish these things were handled much more privately and not in the open. Reason being, please don't cancel me, but reason being is that both ends, they have a lot to do with fame. Let me read this quote first, and then I'm going to talk about that. So, again, article link down below. So this person, Enola Leon, who put out like a good allegation, turned out to be truthful. But let me read it like this. This is on her side. For a long time, I was afraid to say anything. I was worried it would ruin me as a content creator because my attacker had influence and a small place of power in the game industry. A small place of power does a lot for people. I've seen strong and brave women come forward with their experience with assaults, unwanted advances, and discomfort forced on them by men and fellow content creators in our industry. It makes me angry and less afraid to share my story. Now, that's the fantastic side of this, is that you're more open to call them out. What's not fantastic is that there is motivation for fame on both ends.
Yeah.
When I say both ends, one, well, what do women have, to lie about this? Fame, attention. Like, that's the thing. I had a lot of, youth pastor friends that they needed attention. They did not have a good home life, and they needed attention, and it screwed them over.
Yeah.
Fame. Now, on the other end, we also have somebody in this very article. I forgot his name, but he doesn't deserve to be told about. So whatever. Read an article about him below. But he actually encouraged his followers to cancel him. Oh, why would he do that? Is he such a good guy? No, because what happens when you cancel somebody? You trend on Twitter.
Yeah.
Cancel blank. Oh, who's this person? Because there was a cancel syndicate thing. I don't know who syndicate was. Now I know who he is. And that's the thing, is that like even when someone's like, oh yeah, cancel me. Why? So I can trend on Twitter.
Yeah. So they can be a martyr.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. Is that like I wish these things were handled more privately.
Yeah.
And done thorough investigation within the industry.
Yeah.
Because it just leads to a motivation of fame.
And not to say that the men or even women, it is occasional that women take that power role. And it is, of course these people don't seem like they would need, no one wants to give them redemption. No one wants to see anything good happen for them. But when you handle things privately, it gives them an opportunity to redeem themselves. Yeah. And continue their career. No, their choice. Like, he made a choice and that was wrong. But his whole career is ruined because he decided to be unfaithful to his wife multiple times.
Yeah, that's the thing. Ashraf he stepped down from.
If you were a normal person, no, your boss would not care.
No, he wouldn't.
What you did.
Like, Ashraf stepped down from Valhalla.
Yeah.
Like, he said, I need to take some personal
time.
That
was good.
And that's the thing. It's like he's trying to, like, mend his family.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, is that because it was so public, him trying to ever touch another Assassin's Creed game is very unlikely.
Yeah, and it'll be harder. In my opinion, I feel like it would be harder for him to be able to find a higher, like, a high job like that.
Yeah, because he has no room for redemption.
Yeah,
ever.
Because it's so public of something that is so private.
And that's the thing. I want these things to be handled much more privately and much more seriously instead of cancel culture, which is just it's just an angry mob that gets nothing done.
And I'm not saying don't talk about these things.
No.
Definitely talk about this stuff. It is very important to know this stuff exists so that it's handled correctly. Yeah. But I just feel like when it comes to the actual people, it should be private for both sides. I mean, if the victim comes out and says something, like, that's fine if they want their name out there. Right. But I just feel like the case as a whole, everything, it should be anonymous. Like, I don't know. I just feel like every side deserves to not have their name known everywhere.
And that's the thing, is that there's such a motivation for that fame. There's such a need for that fame. And that's why I don't like it how this is just so open. If it got leaked, yes. If there's protests, sure. But all this is just Twitter bashing. And all we're getting is this person's famous, that person's famous. Like Angry Joe right now. Yeah. He's being he's got an allegation against Wookiee Monster. And it's not her real name. People know her now as Wookiee Monster. And where are you going to go? Wookiee Monster's channel. There's such a motivation for fame that people like Enola Leon, right? She's trying to get the truth done. Yeah. And all of these people are just burying the truth stories with their little 15-minute of fame. Yeah. On both sides. Yeah. And it just annoys me that, like, we're hiding the truth, we're burying the truth with somebody who just wants their 15 minutes of fame. Yeah. But here's the thing. I think all of this is good in the long run. I think people who are in power, by the way, I know people in power take advantage of the women that they do so serve. Many pastors that I know, but not know directly, but maybe. But that's the thing, is that you get in that position of power and you think you're unstoppable, and therefore you take advantage of people. Yeah. And I think that needs to end. I know that needs to end. That should end.
Yeah.
But this whole cancel culture, I think it needs to be handled a little bit more privately and a little bit more seriously, rather than outing people, canceling people. Blah, 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 blah. I don't like this person. Why are you following them? Stop treating it like a kindergarten playground and actually take it with some seriousness.
This is real adult life.
Yeah.
Try and be a little serious once in a while.
But I will be looking for the cancel games and groceries on Twitter after this conversation.
Yeah,
So
probably.
good luck with that. But because we're already canceled. But that's the top 3 gaming news. But that's the thing. I do want to end on, it is good for the gaming industry. Screw sexual misconduct. Screw racism, because we already talked about that too, how gaming industry is cracking down on that. Screw all of that. Let's actually treat ourselves like people here. But we should be taking it a little bit more seriously. Mm-hmm. So, number 3 gaming news is about Pokemon. Do you think that was wrong for MOBAs? Pokemon? Blech. I don't know. Microsoft shutting down Mixer. Was that bad? Blech. I don't know. And in gaming industry, is sexual misconduct wrong? Yes. But that's top 3 gaming news. Write your thoughts in the comments down below. But it's time to bring on our guest.
Yeah.
You stuck around long enough. It's time to bring him on. We've got Travis from the Rainbow Road podcast. We're gonna be talking about romancing in games.
Woohoo!
Wow, fantastic. So without further ado, let's bring him on. Travis from the Rainbow Road podcast.
Woo! Coffee time.
All right, everybody, we are back with our special guest, Travis from the Rainbow Road podcast.
Hello.
He's here. It's
He
great.
is.
Yeah, I did. Oh, Travis, can you talk again?
Hello.
I
Hello?
didn't.
Yeah,
Did
he's
I
on.
didn't recheck if he's being picked up on.
no.
Well, no, you're good. You're good.
You're being picked up.
Okay, good.
We're good.
Excellent.
We're doing this live. Travis, you're from the Rainbow Road podcast, of course, because everybody listens to it, regardless of your comments from our last episode. But real quick, what's it about? I love the concept. I was about to introduce your podcast. Like, Travis, introduce to it. By the way, his podcast is all about. But I love the concept, man. Introduce us to your podcast.
So we are Rainbow Road. My name is Travis. My co-host is Mike, who unfortunately couldn't join us today. But our podcast is about looking at gaming through the lens of queerness. So I, during the pandemic, was looking for video game podcasts, and thankfully I found wonderful ones such as yourselves.
Hey, thank you.
But I was looking for one as well that looked at it from a queer lens, looking at queer characters and people from the LGBT community. And unfortunately, there isn't much. There's a couple here and there. Most of them died out after a couple episodes. And that's something that we wanted to talk about. Mm-hmm. So we decided we'll do it ourselves. So we look at video games both through their characters and their stories, but also through the developers, through their themes. Like we talked about Pokemon and Animal Crossing and things like that aren't necessarily queer games, but have a large queer following or have themes that really seem to appeal to the queer community.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's awesome. And it's you have really good guests on too. It's very energetic. I definitely recommend it. If you're looking for that sort of podcast, and I think it's important to have those podcasts. And we talked a little bit about diversity in games. We only represent straight married podcasts. Ugh. That's disgusting. Why?
You're so weird.
But no, I think it's important to have very specific podcasts because it needs to relate. And I love the concept behind that. But yeah, definitely check them out. I will have the link to the podcast link below, as well as their Twitter account. Definitely give them a follow. But we're here to talk about romancing.
Yeah.
Romancing in games. Kissing video game characters and whatnot.
What? Why do you say things this way?
Because sometimes I kiss them through the screen, but that's here nor there.
Oh my goodness.
But let's start this conversation, in a more normal fashion.
Yeah, let's try that.
Let's try that. So let's talk a little bit.
This is frankly how I start most of my romances. So honestly, being awkward as heck is probably a good place to start for this.
See, that's the thing. If you're not starting awkward, is it a relationship?
I mean, that's what the way I went about our relationship. I'm like, I'm not gonna hide anything because
why not?
What's the point in that?
Yeah, it's just
You get all the weird all at once.
Jeez.
All cards on the table. This is what you're dealing with. Take it or leave
Exactly.
it. This is what you've got.
Yep.
But anyways, but let's talk about our tolerance on romance in media in general. Let's talk about movies, books, like any kind of media, music, I guess. But what is our tolerance or our opinions about romance in other medias? Just to get like our takes, our set the standard kind of deal.
Yeah.
Travis, as our guest, what is your tolerance towards it?
I think it really largely depends on the type of media we're talking about. If it is a rom-com, it's kind of crucial to the story. But if you're looking at other films, like my boyfriend and I just watched this film called Network a couple weeks ago about sort of the future of broadcast journalism. And this was back in like the 70s, I think. And it was talking about how entertainment and views were going to take over, and you're going to twist the news, and it's not going to actually be about what's truthful or helpful to people, but rather about what's entertaining. And that's pretty prescient for something that was like 40 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was great, but also there was this romance subplot that had nothing to do with anything. And the entire time I was like, this doesn't serve the story. So I'm just, every time they were on screen, I was thinking to myself, okay, yeah, let me know when you're done. So I think it really vastly depends on what kind of story you're trying to tell. But in terms of me, I do like seeing romance and stories. Specifically, I'm going to bring this back to my podcast.
Go for it, yeah.
Queer romances. It was really nice to see queer rom-coms, the few that there have been, growing up, because it showed me that there was a happiness to being queer. That there was a lighter side, because often it was brutal stories like Philadelphia Story and things like that, where it was stories of tragedy, or it was the coming out story or something like that, where I didn't get to see someone living their queer life in a happy way.
Yeah.
I personally really do enjoy seeing great romance stories in the right stories. It does depend on what I'm watching.
Yes.
That's a bingo right there.
Yeah.
And you still haven't seen the movie Philadelphia, have you?
No, I have not.
Oh, no.
I want to, but I just haven't.
Yeah.
It's grim.
It is. Like, it's pretty brutal. Like, there is no holds bar in this movie. It's just absolutely brutal. Definitely recommend it, especially since it takes place in Philadelphia. Not a really good light on Philadelphia.
Say, I'm like, is that really something you want to advertise?
It's kind of based in Philadelphia,
but Rocky, we'll take that one.
We'll take Rocky. Liz, talk about your tolerance in games. Do you agree with Travis? Are you a different opinion?
I very much agree with Travis in like I love romance, and if it's in the story appropriately, then I love it. But if it's just kind of thrown in there, I'd be like, look, it can appeal to your girlfriend too. Like that I hate. Like, it has to go with the story. If it doesn't go with the story, pick one or the other. Like in a lot of the like action movies we watch, like it's okay that there's a small love interest, but it doesn't need to be the whole movie, because that's not what it's about. Like if they threw a love interest in John Wick, I'd be like, what are we doing?
Yeah, no. And do they kind of? No,
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's like it's sort of hinted like he loves his dog. I don't know. But
Yeah,
like,
so I was just about to say that. I'm like, his dog
The
is his
definition
love
of love
interest.
there is a little concerning. You gotta be careful.
This is true.
romance.
So yeah, I mean, and I know how you feel about romance and anything.
Yeah, so coming to my tolerance, and like I said, we're just stating our own tolerance just to like set our own standards going forward. I am not a romance guy at all.
Adam's the kind that he'll watch a rom-com and be like, why are they in a romance in this? I'm like, it's the movie. And I'm like, this is so stupid. I'm like, but it's the movie.
It's a rom-com. There's romance and comedy. I'm like, I just want comedy, man. No, it's like what's that?
I was gonna say, I find a lot of the problem with romantic comedies is not necessarily the romance aspect, but the way that they've set up the tension. That it's usually based on some complete misunderstanding of someone walking into the room at the wrong time, misseeing or misunderstanding something that happened, and then no one talks to each other for the rest of the movie, and this entire thing could be solved by just two people not holding the idiot ball, as we refer to it in writing, and actually just speaking to one another. If it actually comes from something that's a little more tense and a little more nuanced in like actual things that would be an obstacle to the romance as opposed to people just not talking to each other, I find that makes for a better rom-com. So I kind of get the critique of why a lot of rom-coms don't work, but I think that's really more the issue as opposed to like why the romance is a part of it in the first place.
Yeah.
Well, like that's the thing. It's just like if there's any kind of romance, I don't care like what movie, what
Usually
game.
he's like, this is pointless. Like he doesn't care if it matches or goes in the story. He doesn't care about it.
Okay.
And I'm sure a lot of listeners are saying like, Liz, are you okay? And it's just like,
but when we first started dating, I was like, you're not romantic at all. And he's like, I know. I'm not in a textbook romance. He shows affection and love, just not in different ways. That like typical romantic way. You know, he doesn't bring home flowers every day or anything.
Yeah, I like do like man stuff, like cook. But no, that's just my tolerance, my own personal as we go forward in this. It's just like, I'm not a romantic person in general. I'm not a hopeless romantic is all I'm saying is that. But that's pretty much our tolerance, right?
Yeah.
But now defining with that, going into this topic, when we're playing RPGs, story video games, all this jazz, right? Do we gravitate towards the love interest, the romance option, or do we kind of avoid it? I'm just going to start first because it's an easy answer. I avoid it.
You avoid it at all costs.
Like, goodbye, Ashley from Mass Effect. Get out of here. Miranda, Mass Effect 2, scat. But I got bigger things focused on, like my wife. But easy answer for me.
Yeah.
I avoid it. But because I'm a heartless monster.
Oh my goodness.
But
and drama queen to top it off.
Well, that too. I love having drives on here.
I love when people find us funny.
Travis, what do you think?
That's why I came here.
Exactly.
So, when it comes to romance in games, I'm in a bit of a trickier position because I don't always have options that I probably would have chosen in real life. We did a whole episode on queer romance in games and talking about when we get options and when we don't. So I have to face like a little bit of a tricky thing there. So Mass Effect, for instance, of course, in Mass Effect had the choice as playing as male Shepard, which I did. I could choose either Ashley or Liara, and I ended up choosing Liara, and I kind of stuck with her through that whole playthrough. I realized that I could have chosen Steve Cortez in Mass Effect 3, but I didn't for like multiple reasons. One, I'd already developed this relationship with Liara. Two, he was mourning his dead husband, and that seemed a little weird to be like, you know how you're going to get over your dead husband?
Yeah.
This is healthy.
Is that not how you get people?
No.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just go into grief circles. It's a great place to pick up guys.
It's like, Adam.
Oh, jeez.
So I haven't had a lot of options, but where I did take it for sure was Stardew Valley. Stardew Valley has every character available to romance pretty much for both genders. And I ended up romancing Sebastian. I'm not sure if you guys have played Stardew Valley, but have you guys played it?
I've played a little bit, and only because I stopped because I knew I was going to get like sucked into this. And I was like, I got things to do, but I might pick it up again. But I played maybe 10 hours of it tops.
I have played 0.
Yeah.
It can be a vortex. It can suck you in really quickly.
And
so
I knew it was going to happen.
Yeah.
But no, I played a little bit, but yeah.
Well, I ended up romancing a guy named Sebastian, who's like this emo boy who likes his video games and it wants to be a computer programmer. He lives in a very small town and then wants to move to the big city. But as your relationship blossoms, he finds out that he's happy with you. The problem wasn't that he needed the big city, it's that he needed someone to connect with. And then you guys end up developing that relationship together. And as someone who has thought several times about, I live in a big city, I live in Toronto, Canada, and I've thought about leaving it because it is so expensive.
I imagine any big city is just so much.
I've thought about having to live in a small town because a lot of people in my industry do, and that scares me, honestly, for a bunch of reasons. And I kind of liked getting that little experience of living in a small town, finding someone there, and I don't know, it was a really cute story, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
it was fun.
And that's the thing, like for romance in games, like it's there for the enjoyment, like which we'll get into a little bit later. But no, that's awesome. Like I didn't know about Sebastian. I just like saying that name.
I can only think of when someone says Sebastian, I only think of this one YouTube video I watched with Lane when we were like 12. It was these two girls prank calling.
Yeah.
And they would always use the name Sebastian and go, Sebastian. And that's the only way I hear the name Sebastian.
See, I thought you were going to go with the crab from Little Mermaid.
That's what I was thinking.
No,
Exactly
it was this
what I
YouTube
thinking.
video that me and my friend watched 1,000 times when we were growing up.
Oh my goodness.
It was hilarious.
Jeez.
I think they would be very happy to know that they stuck in your brain
Right.
more than
Yeah.
a Disney movie of all things.
As creators ourselves, like all this table, I would love like
Someone quoting us from in like 10 years.
yeah, it's like, oh, that's nice. Like, I'm pointless now, but that's nice.
I just watched your most recent episode and heard you guys quote me from my Twitter like little post that I made.
Yeah.
And I was already like, aw, yay.
It broke my heart when you're like, oh, nobody listens to us. Like, come on, Travis,
Yeah.
get out of here.
No one listens to us yet. We're getting there.
There you go.
True that.
That's the attitude.
But yeah, no, Liz, when you talk about romance in video games, what is your take?
I am one that I try and go where I feel the story is leading me. Like,
Okay.
and I've said that this in other podcasts. Like, I try and make decisions that I feel like they would make. Like, I don't know. I don't have any examples, but
Yeah.
but I try and just kind of go where the story feels like going. Like, here's an example. So, like Twilight.
Okay.
I was a twihard.
Yes.
But everyone was like having the teams in this, and my whole family was like Team Jacob. I'm like, but the story chose Edward, and these are the reasons. So that's who I go for because that's what the author wanted. So like that's kind of like how I go. Like it's like, all right, I feel more drawn to this, or I feel like their personality would be this. I'm always drawn to have a relationship because they are, and they always end up being really cute and nice and just pleasant to be part of.
So let's start some controversy here.
What?
We're all Life is Strange people here.
Yeah.
I was waiting for this. I was waiting for this.
Chloe or Warren? Where's the story going?
So for me, I try and feel it out. I don't think she would choose Warren.
No.
But I still only see Chloe and Max as best friends. Like
Really?
yes, because they grew up as children, and like I don't know, I just see them as more of best friends, and I see Chloe and Rachel as the relationship. You know what I mean?
Okay.
You also like you identify a lot with Max, and
Exactly,
then Chloe
like-
is your best friend Elena.
Exactly.
So
like,
it's
Max
like
and Chloe are very much like me and my best friend. So it would be like me imagining being in a relationship with my best friend, which is not too far fetched, but
yeah,
but you know what I mean?
yeah, true. But like even playing now, you haven't played Before the Storm yet.
No, I read plot summaries for our episode. I've played 1 and 2, but not Before the Storm.
Before the Storm, I think it's very under. What am I looking for?
Appreciated.
Underappreciated. Yeah, thank you. But it is very underappreciated. But no, like after playing Before the Storm, you really start to feel for Chloe and Rachel, and then you replay Life is Strange 1, and you still have the connection with Chloe and Rachel, and it's just like I get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Where it's just like I think the story is leading towards Max and Chloe, but yeah, I can't get past it. Like no, it's Chloe and Rachel, like straight up. Travis, you played Life is Strange very recently, which is like
No, I played it when it came out. I think Mike, our
Mike did.
co-host,
Yeah.
That's
Mike
right.
had just played it for the episode.
Yeah.
I made the mistake of choosing Warren.
Why?
And I say mistake because Warren's just a guy. Like
He's a little dopey.
He is. Like
I mean,
I
that's why I
feel
like
for
him, to
Warren.
be
Yeah,
fair.
he's
That's
very
why I'm with my
adorable.
boyfriend. But
No, Warren is very adorable and like, oh, you're so cute. But I wouldn't see Max and him dating for a long time if they did date. Like they wouldn't be like
Yeah.
end goals.
Yeah, no, they wouldn't be relationship goals.
Yeah.
Is what you're saying.
this is the thing. Like Warren is barely a part of the story, honestly, and that's why I kind of
Yeah.
regret picking him.
Yeah.
He shows up, gets punched in the face.
Yeah.
Thanks. and then disappears for a while, comes back to say that he wants to take you to a movie, which we never see. And then he shows up drunk at the party to be like, "Meh, you didn't pick me."
Yeah.
And that's it. It's what we said on our episode was that it's a lot of people complain about the unnecessary gay character. Warren is the unnecessary straight character.
Yes.
He adds nothing to that story.
I've never heard a more accurate bingo than I've heard right now.
But you haven't played Before the Storm, so you don't know about Elliot. He is more pointless.
Oh, yeah.
He is the most pointless person in the whole universe of Life is Strange.
Yeah.
He's pointless.
Elliot is probably not only the most pointless, but the most forgettable character ever.
Yes.
And it leads more into the Chloe Rachel. And I feel like the story would have been fine without Elliot, and just Chloe is just searching for somebody to love, and she gets to Rachel.
Yeah.
But like Elliot's just kind of like, oh, by the way, boyfriend. Oh, right. Yeah, there's Elliot.
He's there.
Hi, Elliot. Hi, player. Get out of here, Elliot. It sucks.
I can't stand him.
Thank you, Deck 9, for Elliot.
It is funny what you're saying about you're bringing your own friendship into sort of the lens with which you're looking at their relationship, whether that be friend or romantic. And it's funny because we talk about that a lot on our show with as queer people, we project queer experiences onto what we're seeing, even if there's nothing there. We're kind of that desperate that we are looking for that kind of representation. I completely get that. If that's the lens through which you're seeing that, you're not going to see a romantic relationship there.
Yeah.
So I completely, that makes sense to me. And I think their friendship is strong enough that it still carries the story and it still is meaningful at the end of Life is Strange when you have to make that choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's that, like, it's still impactful. But yeah, I like what you're saying though, that like, Now, let me go into that, actually. That's actually a really good topic about romancing in games. The other reason why I went to bring you on the show, the only reason, not because your podcast is entertaining or anything like that, but no, like the reason was because you do have that different perspective that I don't have. We talked a little bit about diversity, that like I don't have the perspective of wanting to have diversity because I'm a straight white male. But talking about romancing in games, like what is your perspective, even growing up with games? Like you say that, I don't want to like misquote you, like you were desperate into like,
that's what I said.
Yeah. But you were like desperate to like find something that like relates to you. Like, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. The audience for games for so long has been the average either teenage to 25 straight white young male, and that is where the story is focused because that's who they were telling stories to, and thankfully over the past couple of years that has changed, especially in the indie scene, but now we're starting to see it come into AAA games as well. We're starting to see games like Mass Effect and Dragon Age where you have the option to pick people other than that, and you also have something like Last of Us 2, where we have a queer protagonist in a game where also it is not an option for the romance. It is not something that you can choose with an avatar character or an insert character. This is canonically the story that every player will experience themselves, and it's so great to see. Like I said earlier about wanting to see romance stories about queer people, because it reminds me that we can have happy stories. Not going to take Last of Us as a happy story.
It's got some sprinkles of happiness in there.
It's got moments.
There you go. That's the word.
But it is so nice to see. And I'm excited to see it go further. I'm excited to explore relationships that involve trans people. I'm excited to, with Outer Worlds. I don't know if you guys played Outer Worlds.
Oh, I love Outer Worlds. It was my game of the year when it came out. Yeah. And we actually talked a little bit with Andrew Orsi about that. What's her name?
Parvati?
Thank you. Parvati. Yes.
And that is something that's really fascinating because a lot of people don't fundamentally understand what it is like for an asexual person to still have romantic feelings even though they don't have sexual feelings. And there's also aromantics, but it's a whole thing. but it was great to see that kind of representation on screen, and also something that didn't detract from your own romance in the story. What I find really interesting with Outer Worlds is there is romance in there, but it is not your romance. You still get to go with Parvati and experience that crush that she has on the engineer, and you get to see. Did you go through that storyline? Or
Oh yeah, no, like I decimated that game, so like.
He experienced everything.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, I love that game. But no, like that's a really good perspective because it's not a first person, it's a third person perspective. And that's I never thought of it about like that. You get to experience it not through your lens, but through her lens. And all you're doing is just listening to that.
Yeah.
That's cool to think about. But yeah, I know that like Andrew Orsi was like very affected by that because he identifies as asexual, and like he found that like it is actual a representation of that struggle. And like I definitely appreciated that, and that comes through romancing in games, right? And now let me like jump into that topic because I feel like we're going to transition into that real quick. But like, how important is romancing in games? And we talked a little bit about it, but like, yeah, is it important? Are these games or are these mechanics something that needs to be implemented into games, or is it something that's just kind of like it's a connector, it's whatever? What do we all think about that? Travis, why don't you start off?
I would have thought that player choice beats all when it comes to something like Mass Effect or Dragon Age or Outer Worlds or Fallout or any of these games where you have an avatar character that has like a squad. It was kind of the assumption that you had to have the choice to sleep with one of them because it's a power fantasy.
Yeah.
You gotta sleep with someone, right? But it's just you have to. It's just
sounds like high school.
I kind of like that in Outer Worlds. That wasn't necessary, and Outer Worlds is still a great game on its own right. That wasn't crucial, and that's not to say that romance stories are completely extraneous and completely superfluous and we don't need them, but the idea that it is central to a power fantasy, that it is necessary that we have that option, was kind of challenged, and I like that because I want to see also more canonical romances taken seriously in games. Like there's a whole genre of dating sims which are still video games, even if some people don't really see them as that, but it would be nice to see it in AAA games and to look at it like, for instance, sorry, I'm going on so many tangents here, I'm really sorry.
Go for it.
Look at the difference between Mass Effect and Witcher 3.
Yes.
Extra Credits has an excellent video breaking this down, but they talk about how Witcher 3, it is not about choosing one from a list of characters who will always be attracted to you. You are talking about two different romances between Yennefer and Triss that are just different, just fundamentally different in the way that you relate to each other and that you experience that romance. And that is something told through a linear story and technically is a choice, but it's not the same kind of choice that you're experiencing in these squad-based, team-based, like line the women up and decide, which of them will I sleep with? It's not that same kind of story. So I think that it's necessary in its own place, if that makes sense. It is not necessary for all stories, but where it would serve the world and serve the characters, I think it is necessary and crucial, and I do like having it there.
And that kind of matches your our first question, the tolerance. It's like you like romancing in media as long as it fits.
Yeah.
Like, and that kind of matches in. Where like if it's just, just to select somebody just to sleep with, kind of like how Fable does it. Like Fable kind of did that. It's like, which one? But I can't remember. Have you played Fable?
Yes, but years ago, so long, I barely remember.
I was going to say, it was years ago, and I wasn't even, like, looking for that kind of stuff. Was there like, only one gender they could select? Or could you?
In the original, I believe that you couldn't.
Yeah.
And then in the sequel, you could, if I remember correctly.
Okay. Yeah, like, I thought you could, but I was just like, it's been so long. Like, I can't even count how many years I've played Fable, but
actually, maybe it was. I remember it was before. Oh God, I'm a bad gay here. What it was that you could marry someone, but you didn't get a marriage cutscene. You didn't get like the whole, and then they lived happily ever after, and they have like almost stained glass type painting of like you marrying someone, and you could, but you didn't get the whole marriage. It was like, yeah, they're your partner now. Okay,
that's wild.
They shuffle you off along, and then in the sequel, I think it was upgraded to an actual marriage ceremony.
Yeah, no, I didn't know that. That's weird. Like that's an odd choice as a developer, but it is what it is. But those games were developed, way back in the day of like 10 years ago. It's just wild how much games have changed since then, man. But Liz, what do you think? Like, is it important for you, like, to connect?
I personally, like I said, I enjoy romance relationships, like building in games. But what I think is more important is having some sort of strong bond or relationship in it, where it's like you're not gonna, like, even if it's the bond with themselves, like they're just a strong character and they are very, like, they know what they're doing and they have this intuition. You're not gonna play a game with someone like fighting by themselves who's like so hopeless and like, I can't do it.
Yeah.
And without someone else there saying like, no, let's go, we can do it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, whether it's you have a strong like sense of self, you're with a good friend, you're with a like parent figure or something like that, or a romantic relationship. Like, I just think some sort of bond with something or someone in a game is important to help get through it.
Yeah. Okay.
Especially if it's like some sort of fighting, or I can't think of names of types of games right now. My brain is just
Well, I think that's an excellent point. Like, if you look at Last of Us, for instance, it's only the first section of the game, but look at the relationship between Joel and Tess. And can you look at that relationship and say, well, it would have been better if I'd seen them kiss? Because I honestly think that's not true. I like the fact that they have this unresolved tension between the two of them. There's that one line she says right before she sends them away with, there has to be enough here that you feel some sort of obligation to me. And it says this idea of they both know that they have feelings for each other, that they both know the other has feelings, and that they have never acted on it, and now it's too late. And I love how much is wrapped up in that one line. And I think them just being boyfriend, girlfriend, or husband and wife honestly would lose so much from that storytelling. Like, I don't think it would actually serve the story for them to be in that relationship. So like you said, it's more important to have the bond and what's interesting and what's good for the story.
Exactly.
Yeah. I like how you put it that way, because like as soon as you said that, I started thinking about it. Like, what if they were like boyfriend? Like, what if they did even kiss just once? It, like you said, it's that tension that, like, in that final scene with Joel and Tess, that you're just like, you really feel for it because there's so many unresolved, that there's so much regrets that's about to happen. And I'm like, ooh, that gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. Jeez.
Yeah.
Maybe I am a romantic. I don't know. But
no, I think you just like a good story.
That's the thing.
You don't care if it's a romance. You'd prefer it not be, but you're not gonna. Yeah. You're not gonna not acknowledge a good story.
And I think that's what my answer would be, is like, is romancing important? If it leads to a better story, then yeah. Oh yeah, I'll go for it. But if it's just there, like what you said in like action flicks, it's like, oh, he's super killer, but he loves the ladies. And it's like, it's like, it's there for your girlfriend. It's like, I still remember there was a report where there was supposed to be a Gears of War movie where Terry Crews was going to be Coltrane. I need that movie in my life. But but it was canceled because there was no love interest. Yeah. They canceled it. And I was like, are you kidding me? What about with
the girlfriends would have gone to see Terry Crews.
And here's the thing.
I mean, Crews. Honestly.
He's hilarious. Yes.
But like, when I saw that article, I was like, you're completely missing Marcus and Aya. Marcus and Aya had a strong relationship. It has
to be the lead character for them to market it.
Yeah, Marcus was the lead character.
I don't know anything about.
Come on, get with Gears of War, man stuff and whatnot. I'm a man.
Okay.
But Marcus and Aya. Aya was, I believe it's Aya. I'm losing my track with names here, but
Doing great.
But Aya is like the head of communications with all the gears, and Marcus is the lead commander. And there's like this tension all throughout until you get to Gears 3. And then Gears 3, they finally like admit their love for each other. And then Gears 4, you're playing as JD, which is Marcus and Aya's child.
Oh,
And I'm just like, so we're going to ignore that love interest, but that's fine. I don't need a Gears of War movie. That's fine. But
I'm curious to know what Liz thinks about what romance stories tend to do when it's these shoved in, sort of completely tacked on things that we are talking about right now that don't serve the story. But like, let's use The Hobbit as an example.
okay.
The Hobbit trilogy didn't originally have a female character in it, and then they wrote in Evangeline Lilly's character, whose name I do not remember.
Mhm.
And if you look at interviews, she specifically said, I will only do this movie if this character you're inserting into the story is not caught in some stupid love triangle. And they said, yeah, okay, fine, sure, yeah, no. And then they wrote it, and then they shot it, and everything was great. And then they came back to do reshoots, and they went to her and they said, so we want to put her in a love triangle. And you can see her, she's in a promo interview that is supposed to be advertising this film trilogy, and she goes, and then they put me in a love triangle, and she's so angry. In this thing where she's trying to, and I find like that is kind of emblematic of what they do with a lot of female characters, where it's like, this will tick both boxes of we'll have a romance in the story, and it puts a female character in. It gives her something to do because they can't be clever enough to think of another female story to tell. Like, she must be in love with the guy. Like, do you feel like that's the case, that that's what they do with female characters in games? Or
I do. I feel like they tend to only feel like a female character can only be interesting if she's trying to outsmart the lead male. Like, she has to be she has to be like amazing at what she does, and she has to like outsmart him and be witty and everything. It's like, why can't she be either a normal girl in a relationship or just an amazing, like, super smart girl with a good story in general?
Her own story that doesn't relate to another man.
Yeah. But I do also hate when they're like, look, female empowerment, and it's like trying to make her like this amazing person. And really, I'm just like, I don't like her. Because they do that a lot too, where it's like, oh wait, she's not in a relationship, but she's like super powerful and super great, and I'm just like, but she's a super boring character, and I really don't like her.
Yeah.
No, that's true. Like, I totally relate to that. But
I bet you do.
No, like, but no, I get what you mean though. That like a lot of the times you put in those female characters, one for a love triangle or to outsmart. Why can't it just be, a female? Like, it really goes to show that like Hollywood thinks that they need to pander, right? They really just need to pander to their audience, when really it's just like, enough with the pandering. Can we just show people? Just
make a good story, and the people who like it will come.
Yeah.
You can't please everyone. You make the movie or the game for the general market. Like, if you're making an action movie, make an action movie. Stop trying to shove romance in there.
Exactly.
Like, just do
Preach.
that.
Yeah.
I get so annoyed with movies because I love movies, and when they do something stupid, it drives me crazy. But like, if you're making something, just make it, and the people who love action movies will come watch it regardless of what's in it. And if like, I mean, this is speaking just personally for me, but if you really love someone, you're gonna go see the movie with them, whether they're like, I'm not gonna be like, no, we're not gonna go see your movie because there's no love interest in it. Like, no, I love you. You love that movie. I'm gonna go watch it with you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And yeah, if you look at it like you said, why is there romance in this action film? No one is watching a rom-com and being like, I haven't seen a fight scene in a little while.
Exactly.
I'm getting a little bored.
Yeah,
But
not me, totally.
But like, is it I'm bored, or is it that this needs a fight scene? Like, those are kind of two different things.
Exactly. Like, rom-coms are very honest. Like, we're making a rom-com. That's what it is. And they don't try and shove anything else in there.
And it's not that you can't combine those stories. Like, look at Baby Driver. Baby Driver is a great story that has a lot of action and a romance. And you just have to be careful and deliberate in the way that you're crafting the story. But just throwing it in to tick off the box, throwing it in to just have it be part of the story is not useful.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I want to read some social media answers that we have here. So I asked you on social media. Oh, by the way, have you followed us on social media yet? You haven't? Why not? Freak. Anyways.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he followed us. Why didn't you? You freak. Anyways, this is,
Maybe not insult our listeners and viewers.
you're not a freak. You're a gem.
There you go.
You're a freak. Anyways,
You're an
but
idiot.
People listen to my podcast because they're freaks. That's the thing. I know my audience.
point taken. But I asked you all on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, do you think romancing is important in games? So I got 2 answers here. One from @Commander Nikki.
Woohoo!
Yay.
Nikki,
Nikki's so great.
She is.
I love her.
She is.
Everyone loves Nikki.
Everybody loves Nikki. Have you followed Nikki? Why haven't
Just
you?
go follow Nikki, everyone. Oh, I hit the mic.
Freak. Anyways, Nikki says it really depends, to be honest. If it fits, it's fine, which is what we've been saying. But it shouldn't feel forced. Like, for example, the one in DBH. DBH, what's that?
You're looking at the wrong person.
Oh, Detroit Become Human.
Oh.
Detroit Become Human.
Yeah.
I still think players should have been able to romance one of the male characters from Jericho. Yeah. Even though it's not player choice, Uncharted feels more good and natural. But and then she goes on to say, but most of all, I think that the options should be equal. Gosh, I feel like I'm retailing the thread I posted. Sorry, not sorry. Please. No bad choices to unlock gay romance options. Oh, I like that one. No bad choices to unlock the gay romance. Oh, I like that.
I'm going to guess that she's referring to Life is Strange 2.
Yes, Life is Strange too. Mm-hmm.
Called it.
Yeah,
Okay.
because with Finn and Sean.
Yes.
And she also says no bad or boring gay story options. Mass Effect franchise. Bad or boring? You think a dying husband is boring, Nikki? You're still a gem. I don't care.
I think that's a shot at Caden. Did anyone save Caden?
Oh, Caden, I forgot. Well, because Caden.
See? Everyone forgot about Caden.
Bye, Caden. I'm all about Ashley. But yeah, I think romance in games is important, especially for not straight people to have representation. Throwback to episode 105. Ayo.
Woohoo.
But yeah, what do we think about that? By the way, a little quick bit on Ashley. Didn't know this until I just started talking with her. Apparently, Ashley from Mass Effect is a Christian. I was like, okay, yeah, no, like she's
Or are you
like,
talking the character or the actress?
no, like the character in Mass Effect.
Oh yeah, no, she believes in God. So
Yeah.
she's a devout Christian, which like I found really interesting that some people. I'm an atheist myself, but
Mhm.
I found it really interesting to people be like, "Oh, religion's not going to be around in a couple hundred years," and I'm like, it's lasted this long, right?
Yeah,
Like,
true. Yeah, I was just
Pretty
like,
sure
there
that's
for the
not gonna
long
go
haul.
away once we meet other species. Like that's
Mhm.
still God's creation. That's still
yeah,
Mhm.
it's everything out there. So I think it's just a very odd sentiment to think that's just going to be our future. That's just how it's going to go.
yeah, and I was just like, yeah, that's all I really thought about. I was like, huh, cool.
Yeah.
And then it's like moved on. Like, get out of here, Ashley. But what do we think about that? For I especially definitely want to know for Nikki, no bad choices to unlock the gay romance. What do we think about that? It's like unlocking romance instead of just having it happen.
I feel like, yeah. If you have to unlock it, then it's clearly not natural to the story, and they don't care if it's there. Like the creators don't care.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because it's like, oh, you want romance? Well, here, I guess you can have it. But if it goes back to me, like it has to be like
Mhm.
part of the story.
Yeah.
Personally,
What do you think?
I get it. I get the concept behind it. I
Mhm.
don't like locking away content from players, but at the same time, if it doesn't make sense to the story. So if you've got a character who is making choices, your avatar is making choices that the other character that you are romantically interested in, the other character that you are romantically interested in would not agree with and fundamentally could not agree with because of your morals or your values or whatever it might be. I get that. Trying to keep that
Mhm.
romance going doesn't make sense, and having them still be attracted to you when you are making, let's say war crimes. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe that relationship is not going to work out, and I kind of get why they lock it out, so it kind of makes sense.
Mhm.
I get that.
But it's a really tough line to walk because you do want player choice and you do want to be able to experience things. So I don't know what the right answer is, and I kind of think it just depends on the game. I do like what Nikki said about the locking stuff behind, like, you don't want to have the renegade only paramours, right? Like the renegade only romance options. That's not a great way of doing things.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Liz, what do you think?
I already gave my answer.
Oh, yeah. But I thought you had further answers. But
No, I mean, I completely agree with him.
no, yeah, I definitely agree with Nikki because, like, I mean, we're in a different time age, man. Like,
Yeah.
why are we locking this away? Now,
Especially behind, like, the bad options.
Mhm. And some people, it's important to like romance, like what she said about DBH, Detroit Become Human. I think players should have been able to romance one of the male characters in Jericho. And some people, that's important. Like for me, like that's why I wanted to have this conversation. For me, it's not that important. Like I don't really care. But for some people, they're more, I don't want to say sensitive towards that.
Yeah.
They're more inclined to.
There wasn't a romance in Detroit Become Human, was there?
Wasn't there? Wait.
I
don't-
just got to Jericho in my Detroit Become Human playthrough, and then I was playing it with a friend. We promised we'd play it with each other, and then the pandemic hit. Oops.
Oh, man.
So I don't know.
I
don't
think,
have an
you know
answer
what?
for
I do think Marcus does have like this like feelings towards one of the other females, but that's all I can think of. And again, that's something I didn't pursue in that game because I didn't care. That wasn't relevant to the story. And I didn't even notice, like thinking back, I'm like, wait, was there? Because like it didn't matter about when it came to the story. So
No, like
there's an example.
I think there's like tension, but there's not really like an actual.
Yeah, they don't date, they don't even kiss, they don't pursue anything. It's just you can tell that his character wants to please her, but at the same time, I didn't want to please her either.
Yeah.
So it was like that tension of like he wants to please her, but he disagrees with her.
So we also have another answer from @Andrew Orsi. Also follow him. Super cool guy. But he says to the question, do you think romancing is important in video games? I think it really, really depends on the story being told. Like Ackerman Nikki said, if there are going to be romance options, it's a wonderful chance for a non-hetero gamers to have a moment of representation. I like how he says a moment of representation, as long as the options are balanced, well-written, and effective. That said, if your story calls for a written-in romance that doesn't involve player choice... Oh, wait. That's it. If your story calls for a written-in romance that doesn't involve player choice, heck yeah. Just do it. Write your story, game developer. I like he says. Write your story, game developers. Also, make more of those stories with plot-induced specific romance queer. What? Romance is queer. Okay.
Like
You're
Ellie from
getting
The
your
Last of Us.
inflections
And
wrong.
that, we have very, very few. We have very, very few besides The Last of Us 2 now. But lastly, reminder that not every story has to have a romance. The idea of every story only satisfying if romance comes up, player choice or not, is unproductive and often results in a rushed romance system, that satisfies no one, and it involves an awkward mechanics. He finally says, as an asexual person, I love it to be normalized that not everyone finds love every adventure. Maybe they just save the world. Maybe that was just a little more pressing than flirting with the party compromised of hot people. I love it, man. The party could be just normal friends and normal. I think he meant to say buddies, but he said normal bodies.
You're so weird.
I don't know why I gave that Campbell's soup and normal bodies.
You did that because you're Adam, and that's just natural.
It is. It's not forced in. It's just a natural written into
It's
my
a
brain.
Natural response.
I want my friends to have natural bodies.
I want them to have cyberpunk bodies, right? I'm waiting for my augments. Like, let's wait for November.
That's a good thing. But what do we think about that? Of course, Andrew Orsi with the wisdom, but oopsies, there goes my
no.
my romance with my bye bottle is gone.
Aw.
Bye bye.
Love this guy. But yeah, no, like I like how he says that moment of representation, even for asexual people. It doesn't have to be like specifically like homosexual. It doesn't have to be specifically like have you watched Community yet?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like the Dean, where everybody says like, "Are you gay?" and he always responds with like, "That's the tip of the iceberg."
Yeah.
And like, and while it's a comedy and his weird Dalmatian fetish, it's like that little thing of just like he had this arc where he was gay dean, right? And he was representing the gays, and it had this great story arc in the way that society portrays gay people, that it's only one portrayal.
Yeah.
But the dean always says like, I'm not gay, like I don't identify as that. It's so much more than that. You're actually portraying. Same thing with Andrew Orsi. Like there's that story where, well, it's more than that. But what do you think, Travis?
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. As we're getting more representation, which is fantastic, and I'm very thrilled to see, a lot of it still focuses on cis white men who are young and conventionally attractive.
Thank you.
Not a lot of...
Wouldn't he say it's about you?
Yeah.
But we're not getting a lot of stories about trans people, about ace people, about aro people, about people who are intersex. Like there are so many stories out there, and we don't need every story to be about them, but it would be nice to get one here and there.
Right.
I think people like feeling seen. They like feeling represented, and that other people can share their stories. I mean, that's the oldest profession of humanity, is storytelling. It's what we did around the campfire. It's what we did with each other. And we like telling stories, and we like seeing ourselves in those stories. So it's important to feel represented. And I'm so happy to see Pravati for him to be able to see an asexual character. And I'm hoping we see more. It's so nice to be seen. It really is.
And not just like a checklist, right? Like, like the upcoming game, Tell Me Why, involves a trans person. And I like how Don't Nod is handling that, and not like EA, where it's just like, oh, you want to be involved? Here's a trans person.
Yeah.
Whereas Don't Nod is very careful in how they portray people, and I enjoy that. Now, as I say that, and we just talked about Life is Strange 2, not really, giving that love interest unless you do bad choices. Well, it is what it is. But I like how they're handling it, because you can easily just have a story with a trans person, with an asexual person, and just say like, here's a representation.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's carefully and meticulously crafted, that's how you get a good story in, rather than just like, here's a representation.
Yeah.
I think the other thing to do is to make sure that, I mean, the ideal situation is where people from marginalized communities are telling their own stories. However, I realize capitalism meets everything, so that doesn't always get to be the case. Yeah. So if you are going to be telling someone else's story, you better be talking to those people. You better be talking to them and getting their perspective and letting their perspective tell the story. So you mentioned EA, for instance, when it comes to trans people, they have done a bit of representation with Dragon Age Inquisition, and they also included a trans NPC in Andromeda, which is great. It's nice to see, some steps towards representation. But that trans NPC did what I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the term dead naming.
No.
Dead naming is where someone deliberately uses the name that was given to a trans person at birth, which most trans people do not retain their name when they transition. They find it attached to their old identity and that old assigned gender, and they don't feel comfortable maintaining that name, and it doesn't fit them anymore, so they tend to pick a new name and also a lot of names are just very gendered, but so this character, in order to tell the audience that they were trans, dead named themselves, which I respect that EA and BioWare were trying to put a trans character in, but by not speaking to any trans people, because I don't know a single trans person who would have recommended this, by having them dead name themselves, they showed that they didn't actually care about how they were representing or wanting to let those players feel seen. If anything, it made them feel uncomfortable, and they kind of wish that they hadn't experienced that in the first place, because that's just not something most trans people would do. Of course, I'm a cis person talking about this, so take this all with a huge grain of salt, but this is talking to my queer friends from my community and how they felt about that kind of representation. So all that to say, if you're going to tell those stories, please involve those people. Please make sure. And I think that's something that they are doing with Tell Me Why as well, from what I've seen in interviews. So I'm very happy to see that.
Oh, yeah. I'm very excited for that story. And it's just like, and that's the thing. It's like, with all these people like saying like, oh, don't force the like gay storylines. Like, who cares? like honestly, like I'm in the camp of like don't force romance in stories in general. Like
Yeah.
it's like, oh, Adam, you hate, gay romance. Like, no, I just hate romance.
You just hate it in
I
general.
hate romance. Like I hate Lady and a Tramp. Like it's dog romance.
You hate anything involving Disney,
Well, that's true. I don't like Disney in general.
but you like Star Wars, and that's Disney.
I'm leaving.
Okay, bye.
But that's the thing is that, oh no, Travis froze. Oh no. See, he had that face if you're watching us on YouTube. Like, I thought I was like straight up,
Offending him?
I thought it was offending the guy. Hold on. As we're closing this out, I'm going to try to recall him and see if we can like close this out.
Yeah.
Oh no. But yeah, so I'm sorry if you're watching this on YouTube. He's frozen. I'm going to try to message him as we close this out. But Liz, as I figure this out, any final thoughts?
Really, it's just when you have romance, just make sure it goes in the game or the story or whatever. It needs to be natural. Like, if it doesn't belong there, don't put it there. Don't try and check all the boxes or get everyone's attention. Make the game you want to make, and the people who like it will come. Like, don't try and just get more people just because you think you can. It's going to make the story bad if you force it.
Oh, I think he disconnected.
Oh, well, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I'm out of words.
Oh, join. Hey, we're back.
Woo!
Hey, you're back with a final thoughts. Wait, are you there? There you are.
Yeah, I'm here. I can hear you.
So like, okay, so we're gonna go into final thoughts because we're about overtime here. But literally, I said that I don't like Disney, and your face just froze. Like,
To be fair, I probably would have done that either way. That would have been my response.
Travis is back.
I did my final thoughts already. So
Yeah, Travis,
It's
any
fair.
final thoughts as we close this conversation out?
Yeah, I would say that I would also like game developers to explore more stories than just the falling in love, infatuation love story.
Mhm.
I want to see romance in people who have been together for 10 or 20 years. I want to see dealing with rejection and dealing with someone who does not return your feelings or no longer returns your feelings.
Mhm.
I was really impressed to play Firewatch. I'm not sure if you guys have played it.
I have, yeah.
I thought that was kind of an interesting exploration of a relationship that's fallen apart. And what do you do at that point?
Oh,
And,
good
you know,
point.
like it's depressing as all hell, but it's still an interesting and compelling story and one that I was happy to explore and learn about.
Mhm.
I want to see more stories like that. It doesn't always have to be the falling in love story, which is great and it's a lot of fun and
Yeah.
it's exciting and it gives you a lot of player choice and it gives you a clear end goal of the person saying yes to you. And so I understand why it's so appealing to video games, but we're getting better at telling these stories. Let's tell more. Let's tell something a little more
Mhm.
interesting.
I like it. Yeah, and that's what like I like to conclude with. It's just like let's make more interesting stories, whether it be romance or not.
Mhm.
And I think that romancing in games is important to some people. Sometimes sometimes romancing in video games isn't important to some people.
Yeah.
That's fine. I think video games are meant to be for everybody,
Mhm.
representing anything.
Yeah.
So if I don't enjoy a video game because there's romance, guess what? That video game's not for me.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world. Same thing with everybody else. But yeah, I think it's important in your own life, but I think it's more important to tell a good story,
Mhm.
to tell more representation. And I think romancing is more than just who am I going to sleep with, like in
Yeah.
Fable or any of your parties. It should be like The Witcher, where it's like two like very different and very linear, but also it's more deliberate.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like this conversation. It's really good. Yeah.
We did
But
great.
We did great.
Good
Travis,
job,
you did
guys.
good. Except for
Thank
freezing
you.
on us. You know, I'll never forgive you for that.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know what happened there. My internet didn't cut out. I don't know. But
Yeah, I don't know. Well, probably Canada.
It
I don't know.
happens.
But
yeah, it's
a-
always freezing in Canada.
yeah, it's probably like maple syrup in the internet connection or something like that.
Okay. just close the show.
Travis, thanks again for coming on. We definitely had a blast having you here, man.
Mhm.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. I'm so happy to have joined you for this.
Oh, of course, man. And your podcast, one more time, is called
Rainbow Road.
There it is. And like I said, I will have a link in the description. You should definitely check it out as our battery is dying on our camera. So, with all that said and done, we thank you for listening to this week's podcast. You can, of course, follow us on at Gaming Groceries on Twitter and Games Groceries, all one word, on Instagram and Facebook. And we thank you for listening this week. We hope you have a great week. Have a fantastic week.
Bye.